Welcome to the Love on the Go podcast, brought to you by Carolina's Matchmaker. I'm Laurie Burzak, and for over 17 years, I've been helping singles find the relationship of their dreams all over the Carolinas. Along the journey, I've met so many amazing professionals and experts from various fields, and I'm excited to introduce them to you. What's my goal? I want to help you look at love and relationships in a new way and to grow in your understanding of how love works. Let's learn together how people have overcome personal obstacles and have found love, first and foremost with themselves. The ultimate goal is realizing that you are worthy and deserving of love. Let's get started. Oh boy, y'all are in for such a treat today. Holly Hughes is amazing. I will speak from firsthand experience. I have gone to see Holly multiple times. She is an award-winning author, intuitive healer, TEDx speaker, dedicated humanitarian, and she channels her life experiences and utilizes her special gifts to offer unique guidance and healing. So she's basically an intuitive, and she's got like a ton, and I'll let her speak to it in a moment, but she's got a ton of different ways that she can read people, their intuition, their gifts, even kind of talking to the other side. It's a thin veil. If anyone out there understands that or subscribes to it or are fascinated or interested in it, like I am, she employs a compassionate step-by-step process to empower clients to reclaim their voices, pursue their passions, and recognize their self-worth. And she's got a book called Real Not Perfect: How to Become Your Happy Authentic Self. Welcome, Holly.
Thank you so much. You know, I'm a big fan. I'm very excited to have this conversation with you. And I appreciate that you shared that come to see me. A lot of people like to keep that private.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's been absolutely fascinating. And we'll talk a little bit in your office, and then there's kind of like a massage table that I lie down on, and Holly basically kind of goes over my body and kind of releases things that shouldn't be there, and like any like negativity that's sort of sitting, because it's all about memory. Like our body holds things, and that's what
Mm.
makes us sick. So if
Yeah.
anybody out there is into integrative medicine or you know Eastern medicine, this is kind of like all in line with that.
Yeah, it's
But
that mind body soul connection, right? That's what's
mhm,
happening. We're carrying things that we don't know in our bodies. So if someone's not watching, it's very similar to Reiki. I just don't need the symbols. And my experience of Reiki is I can just go deeper, bigger. Um, and
yeah.
that's what I do. Yeah.
So Holly, tell our listeners, you have a gift. Can you explain what it is?
That's a great question. I think everyone can be intuitive or has some intuition, especially women. It's called women's intuition. It's how much do we listen to it? It could be your
Mm,
gut telling you something literally or figuratively. You might just like feel something. I like to explain it to people who it might be newer to. If you ever walked into a room after someone had a fight, and there's
mm.
like a sizzle in the air or
Yep.
discomfort, you're like, no, thank you.
Yes.
It's like that, except I connect with higher vibration, really loving energy. That's like, I feel like the planet is in turmoil. And for some reason, I'm here to help bring loving kindness. That doesn't mean that you're not going to have a human experience. I can be moody and bitchy too. I'm not telling you not to be perfect, like to
Mhm.
be this thing that's not possible. But
Yeah.
really, we are here to love and connect.
Yeah. So when people come to you, what's kind of the biggest hurdle that they're coming to you with normally?
They really have forgotten who they are
Mm,
and they have to figure out who they are now.
okay. So
Right?
they have it when they were kids, but in this lifetime, they've never had it.
You mean like the woo-woo part
Yeah.
or
Well, you say
uh,
they've forgotten who they are. Did they ever know who they were?
that is such a nice way to put it.
Hmm.
I think a lot of people struggle with expectation,
Mm-hmm.
right? So there's family expectations, and depending on your cultural background and whatnot, there is like, this is what you should do and who you ought to become. And then there is now social media I mean, I couldn't have survived that when I was younger, right? There is all
Mm-hmm.
these things of who you are, what you need to look like in
Mhm.
another way, and what is success now and what isn't. And now there's
Yeah.
new definitions of femininity and masculinity. Like, how do you figure out all of that? Is you really have to get honest
Mhm.
about what you need,
Right.
and then figure, and the being honest is the part that I really love helping people with, because they'll come in with a pain, but it's really because they can't be honest about something, and so
Okay.
there's conflict inside.
Okay. So they normally come to you because they're experiencing literally some kind of pain in their body.
Yeah, emotional pain. They
Emotional pain.
mostly don't have words for what they're feeling,
Mhm.
and they've tried other avenues and menus to explore it. They're at a transition point in their life, but they don't have the confidence,
Mhm.
or they don't think they deserve better.
And the woo-woo part of what you
Mm.
do, describe that part.
So, I mean, my clairvoyant gifts and
Yeah.
my, yeah, so I have all the clairs for anyone who's listening: clairvoyant, clairaudient, claircognizant. And then I can't pronounce the other two, but I can write them because I write them all the time. I can taste things as well. And I'm also an empath, and I can see dead people, but they're annoying, honestly. So I get, if you're a client of mine and I tune into you, right? Well, as we start a conversation,
Mhm.
I am opening myself up personally to be the most vulnerable I can be. So that means just massive heart opening to see you and channel compassion. And
Okay.
through that, mm, we'll call it like thread of love from
Mhm.
highest source, whatever you need to call it. I have spirit guides, ascended masters, angels, like all of that fun stuff. Through
Mhm.
that, I just call them they. They
Mhm.
tell me what is going on with you. And they also tell me how fast to push or not push. Like
Okay.
sometimes you just want something to change,
Mhm.
but being honest is hard.
Yeah,
Being,
it's very
and you
hard.
have to be trustful of me, right?
Right.
So I'm trying to make a safe space for you.
Right.
So when I know something super intimate, how do I bring that up?
Mhm.
How are we going to approach it so that you get, meaning the client gets the healing that they're looking for
Yeah.
and resolution? I like to tell people it's been bothering you for, I now ask people before they book a session, how long has this been bothering you? Because I have people come and they're like, I've been unhappy 10 years.
Yeah.
I've been happy years. And they think in an hour I can like wave my hands and make it better.
Yeah.
It takes like, give me a little more than that. Like it takes a little more because, getting over something takes
Mhm.
time.
When you said earlier, I can see dead people,
Mm,
I know that one of the greatest pains that any human being has on this earth is the grief of
mm.
losing a loved one. So have you had that experience? Talk about the experience that you have with talking to people who have gone to the other side.
I sure. I mean, I have so many. So being a medium, like on TV, they make it look like so fun. If you remember, did anyone watch the Hollywood Medium, the Tyler, the young
Mm,
guy? I used to
mhm.
watch and say what he was saying like a second before he would say it. I was like, oh, this is what he's going to say. This is what he's feeling. So that was super like fun. But the weight of the loss, like I don't offer mediumship readings anymore because people were come in such grief.
Mm,
And if I'm 100% open,
mhm.
I am taking it on
Right.
and I feel your pain. And most people, when they go to a mediumship reading, want to know about the moment of death for a
Mhm.
person,
Okay.
right? And so then I feel it. I'll feel the pain of a heart attack. I'll feel the pain of a stroke. I'll feel it in my body and it's miserable for me. And it
Yeah.
takes me days to clear it, honestly. Like it's death, it's grief. If you want to connect, I once helped a woman whose father passed when she was very little, and he passed because he saved someone from drowning.
Mm,
And I had to hold a picture of him, like, and so I got the whole story, and it was parts of the story that she knew and parts she never knew. So that was closure for her.
mhm.
Otherwise, like when I'm in Charleston, like I'll do like more of a fun place, that town is just riddled with dead people, right? So
Oh yeah.
there's dead dogs running in packs, there's pirates there, there are
Fun.
slaves, there are, a host of things. And I did a graveyard tour when I did a workshop down there with people, and I
Mhm.
just named the people I saw sitting on the graves, and people went to see if I got the people right, and I did.
That's interesting.
Right, so but they're creepy. They're staying, and I don't know why they're staying, and I don't often wanna know. Think they give me a very intense headache, dead people,
Mm.
so it's a harder experience on me physically.
How do you help people get over the grief of a person passing away?
That's super specific to a person. A
Okay.
lot of times, the grief is about overcoming neglect
Mhm.
and not being seen by them. And
Mm.
so there's a missed opportunity again of love or connection, or
Mm.
and they want forgiveness, or
Okay.
they wished it was better, or I've had several people come to me because they couldn't make it to say goodbye.
Mm.
They weren't there. They missed, I'm
Mhm.
air quoting that a bit. I don't want to because that seems rude. They missed the opportunity to be there to while the person like transitioned into, right?
Mhm.
Um and I get that. I mean, I was in the room when my grandma died and everyone else walked away because they had to turn off the machines. They left her on the machines so we could be there, so we could fly to get there to say goodbye. But to like watch the machines turn off, most of my family left and I just held her hand.
Mm.
And
Wow.
then when she actually passed, I saw her as an image in the room as like a 40-year-old version of her with bright red hair and a martini.
Oh.
And she toasted me. And like that's so not my grandma's life. That was never her life. But in that
Oh.
moment of release, it was like, I was like, okay, I'm like, I love you. So there's that. So it's about the missing, but I know that they have access to us.
Mhm. Is it also like say a gentleman was married for over 50 years and
Mm.
his wife passes on and he misses her terribly but doesn't perhaps he didn't feel as if there was unfinished business. He just misses her a lot
Hmm.
and connects with her through a medium. Um, why would somebody do that?
Why would they want to feel the love they miss?
Well, do you think it's healthy?
This is super interesting. I think grief comes in waves.
Mhm.
And I think, like anyone who goes on a spiritual journey or wants to improve themselves, life is like an onion, right? We know that phrase. And
Mhm.
so there's different layers. So there
Mhm.
might be times that you fantasize about how it was, or
Mhm.
and then you miss them. Like I miss my grandma.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't reach out, although sometimes I smell her and it cracks me up. But I just think, often I find that dead people who have died are not angels. They're different entities.
Yeah.
Um, but they said butterflies and they send little messages of love. And like on a personal note, like my husband's mother had passed
Mhm.
and she showed up and she didn't like raise her vibration in the least. And I was like, you could go on. Like, I don't have anything to say to you, and I don't care to hear anything that you have to say.
Mhm.
Right. I think people who pass on and elevate and connect to their highest part of their soul are great, but some people are jerks.
Mhm. Yeah.
That's my experience of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, totally. Well, I definitely think it helps people to be able to connect to the other side. I just sometimes wonder if it also holds them back from being able to receive love again.
Yeah. I think it has to do with fantasy.
Okay.
I think that it's very easy to romanticize what was.
Mm. Mhm.
Um, Eh, yeah, I think that has to do with it. So you can idealize that version of the person and how it was, but if we spoke to that person,
Mhm.
would they have thought the same? Or did they give up a lot to make you that happy? And you just never paid attention.
Yeah. Well, welcome to relationships
Exactly.
of over 30 years.
Exactly. You and I are both in long-term marriages. There's
Yeah.
just things that, you understand about the person, but there's also things you can be super honest with about the person. But those long relationships, I think the romantic, I can't say the words that I
Romanticism.
Thank you. Of when you first start a relationship, like why I like some shows that I like, because it's the first kiss, it's the first few months, it's all the magic and all the good stuff. So
Hmm.
don't rush it. And also, sometimes sparks don't fly. I know you coach people about this all the time.
Yep.
Sometimes when you meet someone, it's not like ching, ching. It's like, or oh, I don't
Right.
know. And
Right.
not knowing is good. Enjoy
Well,
that.
I'm glad you're bringing this up because when I send out a couple through my matchmaking program or online dating where people meet people, that we assist them with their online program, they will often say to me, I didn't feel a spark. Now, women, because we are very enlightened humans, will go on a second date if they
Hmm.
see other things there that
Yep.
align with their goals and their bucket lists and, whatever it is. Men, inevitably, if they don't feel the spark on the first date, they're out.
Yeah. I'm curious about how you coach men now to
Hmm.
be men. Because right in society right now, being gentlemanly is not good or too good, or you're old fashioned, or or you're this or you're that, or what are your values?
Hmm.
Where it's super important to still have mm, understanding of roles, and really we are different and it's
Hmm.
okay to be different. And as an adult,
Hmm.
you can do relationship any way you want, right? Meaning that like I've worked with people who've got helped them through divorce and they start dating, and inevitably during a divorce they're like, oh my god, am I ever going to be with anyone? I'm like, what are you worried about? You were just with someone for 15 whatever years. Why don't
Hmm.
you figure out who you are? You're
Yep.
not the girl you were when you met them, you're not the woman you were in the marriage, and you have to be a whole other beast during a divorce. Then
Mm.
you have your year of crazy. And during the year of crazy, almost everyone sleeps with their trader or their bartender. Like, it's just a thing. And I am all for it. Go find out what your sexuality is. Go
Mm.
figure out what you like or don't. Try what you never had. I don't know. Like, but that's profound healing. And that's really when you redefine who you are. And then I know people now who are kids or teenagers, and they are dedicated to each other, but they don't want to get married. And they'll
Right.
see each other every other week when they don't have the kids, but and then they keep their private life private. Like they don't want to integrate the kids. Great, you figured out what works for you.
Hmm.
I think that's what I mean by like it's good to I think it's good to be gentlemanly. I think it's good to make effort
Hmm.
because you both have to, because that's the thing that eventually people take for granted.
Yeah. No, you're right. And I I coach my clients on this all day long. And then with my male clients, but I also say to the women, give somebody a chance. And if they're not as alpha as you're looking
Mhm.
for, look at the other things. Maybe they have a secure attachment style,
Mhm.
they have a good job, they're excited about starting a family or integrating you into his family. So I try to kind of open up their eyes because not, every woman comes to me and says they want an alpha male. It's just like across the
That's
board.
I think that's just so funny because that's what's most attacked right now, like on social media, right? Are these alpha males.
Yeah.
They're like, don't do it. It's toxic. It's toxic. I think it really is. I think from my experience of women in relationships and dating, the biggest thing that I help them is what do you think you want? Right? But more importantly, when a man doesn't do what she wants, but she doesn't actually tell him.
Yeah.
So it takes away the romance. Hey, babe, I want flowers once a month. It just makes me so happy to receive that,
Hmm.
right? Just makes me happy. Now, if you have a thing about what flowers, go ahead. I like irises. I want peonies, whatever. Just you can be specific.
Yeah.
And here's the thing about a man: if he cares, he'll do it.
Absolutely.
But then she's like, but I had to tell you. Yes, you had to tell him, but now he's actually doing it, which shows he's committed and he's whatever. Then
Right.
you can say, I like surprises. I like surprises like foot rubs, whisking me away on a hot air balloon ride, or throw me against the wall. It could be like anything.
Hmm.
And you're like, but I had to tell him. Yes, because he's not me. He's not a mind reader.
He's not a mind reader. No, I think that's great. And That's important every step of the way of a relationship. It could be in the very beginning where I've talked to clients before and they're like, well, he doesn't call me ever. Well, a lot of people have been taught to text instead of call.
Mhm.
So you need to actually say what you need. Just talk about, I'd love to hear your voice. So it doesn't have to be like any kind of negative way, but I'd love to hear your voice
Yeah.
instead of texting, let's talk. I mean, I
That's n
have
yeah.
friends that just want to text me all the time. I'm like, pick up the phone. I cannot stand all my thumbs are hurting me from texting so much. And then things get misconstrued and people get into arguments over texting. It's just
Or, punctuation works for some people, but not others. I'm like, what is that? I am the worst texter. You get text from me, there's going to be the wrong word. Autocorrect's going to come in and it just won't, it just is the way it is. So
right. But
I'm,
especially, right, exactly. And so in the beginning of the relationship, you need to say what you're looking for. And it's a
mhm,
great way to see if somebody can receive direction and follow through, like what you
yep,
said. And then even when you're in a marriage for 30 years, sometimes you got to take stock of the marriage, figure out what you like, what you don't like, and what you need,
exactly.
and
And
spell it out.
spell it out. And you have to do the same thing back.
Oh yeah.
Have I said anything nice to my spouse as of late?
Yeah.
Have I complimented them? Did I
Yeah.
tell
Have
them
I
I'm
given them a
proud?
hug? All the
Yeah.
things. Physical touch is so important. People put
Mhm.
that in the back burner when they're married for many years, and it's a big mistake.
It is, and was it like Dr. I think her name is Dr. Laura Berman, right? She's always talking about it's okay to schedule it when you're married forever. You'll
Mhm.
still enjoy it. Like it might not look great on the calendar, but if you let life always get in the way,
Yeah. Well, it's interesting you say that because spontaneous sex, if we're going to go there for just a minute, and then I want to get
mm,
back to the other stuff, that does not normally occur naturally after the initial courtship is over. It just doesn't. You have to schedule it. Even if it's in your mind, you don't have to tell the other person, but have it in your mind if you haven't had sex for a little while. Okay, Sunday night's going to be the day.
yeah.
Sunday night's going to be the night. And just move forward. I've never, it is a rare day where somebody will say something like, "Man, I regret having sex tonight." It's like they make the biggest deal in their minds about it ahead. And I mean, uh, so many people I've talked to have said this to me. So many people. And then it's not that big a deal, but they
Just
build it up. And then the
uh-huh.
longer period of time that goes on in between,
Mhm.
it becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. And I've talked to people who haven't had sex in years.
I
And
know. That's
it's
awful.
it's sad to me. It's sad. So anyway, okay, moving on. Um, how would you recommend to somebody energetically, intuitively to release their last relationship
Mm.
so that they can receive the next one?
Yeah. So I I see this phenomenon with people where they're like, I want more, I want something different. But what I see energetically is their hand like out behind them, like this, trying to reach for what they had because they're not quite ready to let it go. Because when you actually let it go, you create space, which makes room for anxiety, insecurities, what's wrong with me. Then you take all of that negativity and then kind of turn it in on yourself. I think it's important to grieve a relationship. It's okay to take time to do it. I think when I was younger, there was like a month for every year or something like that, right? But you don't know. Sometimes you know someone for a short time, but there is this connection, right? I think that's why some people come to see me too. They're like, what is that connection? What is that chemistry? What makes it? I don't know. Like but it's fun. It's like enjoy that. But when it goes away, you're like, oh, everything else is kind of flat. I think that mourning something, seeing it as what it was is important. Discerning what who you were in it, who were you while you were in that relationship? What version of you? Were you your whole self? Were you the young girl? Were you an older woman, whatever age you are? Am I being authentic to me, or do I miss the dream of who I was and what could be? So that's one way to think about it. Um, but you really have to let go to make space of something. So, like, even when I do energy work on a body, right, I'm removing stuff so there's space for more and new and better.
So when you're working with someone,
Mhm.
how do you help somebody kind of raise their vibration so that they can attract in a soul connection?
Yeah. The first step is always getting honest. A lot of people, I say that over and over because people aren't.
Hmm.
I don't want to face that. I don't want to deal with that. I already dealt with it. Well, maybe it's time to re-deal with it at a more mature level,
Yeah.
right? And then you raise your vibration by feeling your feelings. So if you're not going to feel your feelings, so this is usually when people they don't get frustrated with me. They get frustrated with the process,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Because feeling things is hard. It's hard. And so like what I always hope that I'm providing is support to move through it without again without judgment and
Yep.
telling you it'll get better. There's someone else coming. People like to want to know dates and times. I can't give you that, but I do know general sensibilities, like it'll come, it'll come. But um when you feel your feeling, it's getting honest and then you'll realize where that feeling started.
Mm.
Who didn't see you the way you wanted to be seen?
Yeah.
How did you want to be loved by your family that you didn't get met or maybe smothered or it all depends on the person.
Mm.
So when you get real with all of that and you're letting go of what I call dead weight on you
Mhm.
emotionally, then you go higher.
Mm.
Then you attract better because you're not going to connect on wound. You're going to connect on heart and mind and spirit.
When you said the word wound, it made me think about how people trauma bond.
That,
That's all about having trauma in common and really connecting on what feels like a soul level, but it's
yep.
like a lower vibration kind of a level. And it doesn't always raise up for the continuity of the relationship.
Yeah, some trauma bonds are um, victim bonding.
Hmm.
It's me against the world. No one understands me. You're the only one. No, you're the only one. Oh, and then they just wallow in their pain.
Yeah.
And so if one person starts doing better, that becomes a threat in the relationship.
Mm.
Whereas you can meet someone and be like, "Oh, I had a difficult relationship um in my family and so I can't tolerate a liar."
Mm.
So and they can be like, I have difficulty in a relationship and I have problems trusting people. Okay. So we both know that we have that.
Right.
What do you need to hear from me? And I can then decide if I can do that. And I'm going to tell you, I would rather you be blunt without cruelty, no cursing, no walking away, not like you can make parameters. And
Mm.
that's how a relationship that maybe you initially were like, oh, we get this about each other, but we want to do better.
Hmm.
And then you can raise it that way,
Hmm.
right? You don't have to stay in the wallow. There's like, misery loves company. Like, who doesn't like a little bit of gossip? Come on, it's always a little bit of fun. But if you live in that low vibration, because it is,
Hmm.
then you're not actually ever getting deeper with anyone because you're not being vulnerable. You're
Yeah.
not being, my favorite word, honest.
Yep. Perfect. Love that. Um, we have a few more minutes. I just want to go over how this is kind of interesting. The benefits and minuses of a soulmate, according to Kabbalah, which you'll
Mhm.
need to explain what that is. Um, Soulmates are challenging and difficult. Let's talk to soulmates.
Okay. I the concept of soulmate, like growing up as a little girl, oh, you want to find your soulmate, it'll be so good. Well,
Hmm.
according to Kabbalah, which is Jewish spiritualism, right?
Yep.
So you used to have to be a man of a certain age and married to study this. And it actually includes astrology, spirituality, all of the like mystical things about relationship, we'll call it that.
Hmm.
But according to Kabbalah, it is that when you meet your soulmate, you're the most challenged because you're here to do the most work and elevate your soul to a higher level.
Hmm.
So that means you will probably bicker, you will face life challenges together, that it won't be smooth sailing, and you'll often be, what's the good word, attacked from outside forces
Hmm.
and made to choose each other or separate, right? I think any long-term marriage is like the joke in my house is we both just don't want a divorce at the same time is why we're still married, right? You know, any long-term relationship,
Yeah.
you have ups and downs and lulls. And I like to say to people, you don't need drama in your relationship because the world will give it to you.
Mm,
COVID, what we're seeing going on in the world, wars, labelism is what I want to call it. Like all of these things, or you should see that, and you should let a lot of that. And
mhm,
you should have this much money, and you should live this way, and all of judgments,
mhm,
right? Life
mhm.
illness will come into your life, family dynamics will come into your life, right? When you're in a relationship, it's very rarely just two people.
That's right.
You're in this container
A
of
marriage
this
can't be
lifetime.
100%.
So again, the soulmate part is how do we work on all those things together and how do we sustain each other? And it's not going to be easy.
How do we know when we've met our soulmate?
Okay, I'm going to rock your world now.
All right,
I
let's hear
don't
it.
believe in them.
Do you think there's multiple soulmates?
I think there's soul groups.
Soul groups.
Soul groups. So for me, there is a group of people, energies, souls, right, that I've encountered multiple times because I believe in multiple lives.
Mhm,
Right. So
mhm.
you and I, we've hung out. Right?
Oh,
I've known you before. I've known you before. I'll know you again. I think we always like to like it's almost like we had rival shingles at one point, like how am I going to help you? No, how am I going to help you? Like I think it's but funny, but with a sense of humor, right? Like I just think that sort of thing because you have intuitive gifts. I think that's part of what makes you good at what you do because you see and feel what's good for people.
I'm such an empath. I soak in all the energy from
Everything.
people. It's
Right.
hard. Like I'll cry because somebody's crying. I can
Mhm.
feel their feels. It's a lot.
Yep.
Sometimes it's
It's
too
a
much.
It
Yeah.
is. That's colors push them away. I think so with a soul group, I think there's more than one person. I remember being in my 30s, late 20s, 30s, about 30-ish. And I was at a football game in a stadium
Hmm.
and I was thinking, I wonder if like my husband is in here,
Yeah. That's a normal.
right?
It's like when somebody walks into a bar or something. Is my husband in here? Is that what
Is
it
he
is?
in here?
Trying
Is
to
he in
find
here?
somebody.
He
Yeah.
wasn't on there. He wasn't. But um we have like these timelines.
Hmm.
And when I was younger, I mean, I had my gifts. I didn't know how to control them. They were just things that would come in and out of my mind kind of thing. So I didn't know that you didn't feel that. But I was like, I had a plan. I want to know who I was marrying at 23. I want to be married, know who I was marrying at 24, be married at 26, first kid 28, second 30, next one 32. Blah, blah, blah. I was going to be film and TV producer by the time, whatever. I was going to roll up to the Oscars and I was going to be like, I had the whole thing. And God
Mm.
said, no, blow it up. So it didn't work that way for me. But like I was wedging, this is for any younger listener, this doesn't usually happen to women who are older. That slice of pie that you are wedging your life into is too
Mm.
small.
Mm.
I want you to take your 20s and explore. I want you to play house if you want to play house and fall in love and I think that's great. I really do. I really really do. But Saturn return is when you turn 28 and God says, these are the lessons you've had so far in your life. What do you want next? The same ones or new ones? You will notice your friends having babies, getting married, and getting divorced at 28.
Interesting.
It just happens.
Yeah.
So my thing was like what I say is like, do you when you're 22, your parameters for choosing a man, are they going to be the same ones at 30? I hope not. My parameter was, did I fit in his pants? I was with a guy and I was like, if I fit in his pants, because he was skinny. I was like, if
Mm.
I fit in his pants, I'll stay with him.
That's
It was the
hilarious.
worst choice. The worst choice.
Oh my gosh. You and I could talk all day. Let's close it at that.
Okay.
Everybody needs to check out her TED Talk, by the way, and I'll put
Mm.
the link in the show notes. And where can people find you?
Oh, hollyhughesintuitive.com and that and Instagram and come check me out. Let's have a chat.
Do you do virtual work?
Yeah, I do virtual and I do in person.
Perfect. It has been a pleasure. We're going to have to do a part two sometime.
Sounds good.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Holly.
Thanks for listening to Love on the Go. I hope you join us on our next episode. You can make sure to know when it is by following us wherever you listen to podcasts. Also, if you enjoyed it, it'd be great if you left us a review. I'd appreciate it. In the meantime, to learn more about me and how my team can help you, visit carolinasmatchmaker.com. Until next time.